hidden eggs, Easter gatherings, and the potential risk of grooming. Right now, my house looks like a craft store and a grocery list had a head-on collision. Plastic eggs are everywhere. Not a tasteful amount, a biblical amount. Half are filled, half are mysteriously empty, and one will absolutely surface in July like a pastel prophecy. My name is Anna Sonoda, and welcome to Known and Trusted. There's a ham on order, a menu that keeps shape-shifting, multiple group texts debating side dishes and who's bringing what. This is the week. It is Holy Week, and it all culminates in Easter Sunday. It is full. It is joyful. It's chaotic in that warm, familiar way holidays tend to be. And it's also a week where quietly, subtly, things shift. Easter is one of the highest attended Sundays of the entire year in the Christian faith. Tens of millions of people will walk into churches across the country, many of them only for this day. That means more volunteers, more visitors, more children moving between rooms, and more "can you grab them for me" moments. It's a beautiful kind of full. But when environments change or new people are added, standards must stay steady. Trust and faith and tradition are strengths. They're not substitutes, though, for clear safety practices. Today, I want to talk about how to hold both the joy of the Easter season and the uncompromising clarity of protection. The shift people miss. We prepare for things that feel like threats. We lock our doors during the day and at night. We set alarms. We double check our plans. We notice what feels off. But holiday weekends rarely feel off. They feel familiar. They feel exciting. They feel sacred. That familiarity is exactly where risk can creep in. The Trojan horse from last week was brought in with permission, not with force. Permission handed out in passing. Can you take the kids outside? Can you go check on the kids? I'll go grab them. They're just playing by themselves, all normal, all easy, and all moments where oversight can begin to thin. The reality of religious grooming. This may be the uncomfortable part of today's episode for many of you listening. Religious spaces are not immune to grooming. Let me say that again. Religious spaces and the people who fill them are not immune to grooming. They are not safer by default. Titles, spiritual lingo, and the assumption of shared values can be weaponized. Offenders often seek out faith communities because authority and trust are built in. An offender I once worked with told me that he would hop from religious community to religious community because everyone gave him the benefit of the doubt. They all assumed that because of his religious beliefs, he would be good and welcomed in their community. Phrases you've heard such as, "God put you on my heart," or "I'm mentoring the children," or "this is part of their spiritual growth and development." Those words can be used to justify one-on-one access. They do not replace background checks. They do not replace supervision. No spiritual explanation ever cancels out a safety standard. No leader title gives or gets a free pass. So what can you say in a faith setting? Thank you for offering to help. For this event, we require 2 adults in every children's space. Can you sign in with the volunteer desk and we can find an appropriate space for you to serve? We appreciate your heart for mentoring. Our policy is that mentoring happens with a parent present or through our formal program following volunteer training, background checks, and reference checks. Let's connect about that after the service. Your practical checklist for Easter weekend. Here are clear, usable steps you can take with you for this upcoming weekend. Read them aloud to your kids, with your partner, your co-host, or your church leader. Confirm location and who's leading before drop-off. Ask where the children's room is and who is leading it. Know the room number or the door color. Make sure that you enter the room and introduce yourself to the two individuals who are going to be present. Ask if they will both remain in the room for the duration of the services. As a church community, always require 2 adults to be present in every children's space. No single adult supervision, no exceptions. Don't have the adults? Move all the children into one collective space and ask parents to volunteer their time to stay and act as supervisors alongside. Use visible supervision. Keep younger children in main rooms or open sightlines. Avoid basements and isolated side rooms. If you are a religious leader, consider locking spaces that are not going to be used or that you don't want used during the Easter time. Clarify pickup rules out loud. Tell your child who's allowed to pick them up and ask staff how changes are communicated. Monitor digital access. Volunteers should never privately message, photograph, or follow minors. Group communications should always include a caregiver or parent. Have a backup plan for volunteer shortages, a visible roster, or a float supervisor who has already been trained in your church's child safety protection program should float as a supervisor, preventing last-minute single adult coverage for any children or youth programs. So here's a simple script for parents and hosts. Before I drop off Jimmy, who's in charge of the room today? Pastor Mark and Jenna. Great. And what's your pickup process for today? We'll call names at the front door. Perfect. My child will only go with people on this list. Thanks for keeping it visible. Sometimes the adults are the ones who need to act. If you walk into a room and pause, wondering who on earth is in charge, that pause is your cue. Step out of a conversation or step out of the services yourself. Reestablish a standard. Become the supervising adult when everyone else is taking a break. Say it plainly. Let's move all the kids to the main room where we can observe them better. We need 2 adults in here. I'm happy to volunteer. Who else is with me? I'm going to supervise for the next 20 minutes. Who can do the next segment of time? You're not being paranoid. You're being responsible. At a family gathering in someone's home or your home, take a leadership role. I'll take the next rotation so everyone can eat. Let's keep the little ones in the living room so we can watch them play. At church, you can say something like, we have a no single adult rule. If we're short on adults, let's move the activity to the fellowship hall and ask parents to stay with their children. When spiritual language is used to justify access or one-on-one time with kids, you can say something like, I respect your heart. Our policy is clear. Mentoring requires a formal training process. Let's talk about this after the service. With older kids and teens during this Holy Week and Easter weekend, let's remember that teens have agency and awareness. They often know a lot more than we give them credit for. Talk with them about the risks of grooming before events occur. Lots of people will be around this weekend. Stay with your group or your pals. Keep me in the loop if plans change. After events, make sure to touch base with your child. Who did you hang out with most? What, if anything, felt different, weird, or exciting? Be direct with teens. Busy weekends create more access. Pay attention to who's asking for your time in ways that feel different. And if you ever feel uncomfortable or strange, or notice strange behavior of adults or older kids, These are the places where you can always find me or someone else to get you out of the situation. If your brain is listening to this and juggling menus, egg stuffing, and where in the world you hid the good candy, here's your reset. You don't need to monitor everything. You just need to notice what changes. That's it. If you're unfamiliar with what your church plans to do to keep your family and other families safe this Holy Week and Easter, inquire, ask, check in about what their policies are and how they plan to uphold them with new people crossing the threshold for the Easter weekend. Joy and safety coexist. Celebration and clarity coexist. You can hold both simultaneously. If you need additional resources for how in the world grooming happens and how a child is targeted, check out my book, Duck, Duck, Groom, Understanding How a Child Becomes a Target. If you're looking for a way to start the conversation at home and get on the same page about safety with your child, check out Wait, That's Weird, a book for parents and children to detect strange behavior together. If you or your child is a survivor of grooming and you need an additional resource, look into Duck Duck Groom, the Guided Journal, a workbook meant to assist you in that healing process as you unpack what happened and devise a plan for the future. If this episode resonates with you, send it to a friend, possibly a parent at your church, a leader at your church, someone who will be in the mix with you this week and weekend. One conversation can change the culture of a room, of a church, of a community. Hold your faith communities to the same safety standards you would anywhere else. School, rec league, sports leagues, scouts, no exceptions. This week is meant to be joyful, full, connected, faith-filled, meaningful. You don't have to trade any of that for child safety and grooming prevention. The goal isn't to restrict everything. It is to stay steady amongst the joyful chaos, to keep your standards clear, even when everything gets a little loose, because nothing about this week looks like risk, and that is exactly why clarity matters. Now I'm going to go back to stuffing those eggs and finalizing that menu. Remember to show up, look up, and speak up. My name is Anna Sonoda, and this has been an episode of Known and Trusted. Happy Easter, everyone.